Hey everyone, this week's one barbell workout. So if all you have access to is a barbell, you can do this with an empty barbell. You can do this with plates, especially, or weight added to the barbell. Some of the movements in particular will lend themselves to being able to add weight. Others might not so much. We'll go over all the movements one by one in a second here. The workout, basically the way this is designed is it's written in pairs. So you're gonna do A1 and A2 together for 4 to 5 sets. Back to back. You can rest as needed between each movement if you want. Maybe put a minute between each if you want. You could go one right into the next, then take a little break. If you're dealing with an empty barbell and it's relatively easy for you, you could just go back to back for 5 sets. The rep scheme is 8 to 12. Again, that's dictated by how much weight you have access to and how hard the movements are for you. It's a 1 1/4 front squat and a bent over row. We'll go over each of those together. B1 and B2 is the second pair. So once you finish up your 4 to 5 sets here, move on to the second pair. It's 1 1/4 floor press for 8 to 12 reps and a single leg glute bridge for 8 to 12 reps each leg. And then C1 and C2, 1 1/4 bicep curl for 8 to 12, and then a kneeling Russian twist for 8 to 12 reps. Let's go over each movement, guys. So the 1 1/4 front squat, you'll perform the front squat. The quarter means that you're going to lower yourself all the way down to the bottom of the squat. You're going to come back up a quarter of the way. You're going to lower back down, and you're going to stand all the way back up. That constitutes 1 rep. So I'll demonstrate with the bar in the rack position. Lower down under control, all the way into the bottom. Come back up a quarter of the way. Lower back down under control, back into the bottom, and then stand back up. So you're not using momentum here, you're not lowering down and then bouncing out of the bottom. That pretty much negates the benefit of the movement. What we want to look for is control. Once you start to stand back up, you want to separate the calf from the hamstring behind the knee, lower back down so they touch again, and then stand all the way back up. If the weight you're using is particularly light for you, which this movement is pretty demanding, so even a light weight will get hard. But you could incorporate a pause at the quarter. So lower down, stand back up, pause at the quarter, lower back down, and then stand back up from there. And so basically the longer each rep takes to complete, the more challenging it's going to be. So let the weight of the barbell that you're dealing with dictate the tempo of the movement. 8 to 12 there. The bent over row, once you finish with that, there's a few different ways you can do this. For our purposes today, I'd recommend an overhand grip. Grip will be just outside of the thighs, essentially, maybe about a thumb's width distance away. Bend forward at the hip. Back stays nice and flat. You're going to pull the bar in to the upper abdomen, just below the chest. Pinch the shoulder blades together. Keep the shoulders down and back. Lower back down under control. Again, if the weight you have is particularly light, you can incorporate a pause here. Pinning the bar against the torso, hold it there for a second or two, lower back, nice and slow. 8 to 12 reps. Again, the slower you go, the harder it's going to be. 1 1/4 floor press. So you're going to be lying on the floor. You guys should be able to see me here. Yeah. Lying on your back on the floor. Your feet are going to be flat on the ground with your knees bent. If you have plates, you should be able to just kind of like slide yourself underneath the bar essentially and roll it up to your chest. With an empty barbell, just kind of pull it up to your chest. So start lying. The elbows are tucked into the side of the body. Think about turning your knuckles up towards the sky. From there, you're going to perform a press, full lockout, lower under control. The quarter is going to happen at the bottom, so you're going to tap the back of the arm to the floor, perform the quarter of the way up, all the way back down to the start, and then repeat. So that's the 1 1/4. That's 1 full rep, quarter, and press. And again, if the weight that you're dealing with is relatively light, you can pause at the quarter, lower back down under control, and then push back up. Tempo will dictate how challenging the movement is for you. The single leg glute bridge, so you'll still be lying on the floor. I'll show 2 different ways you can do this. You can lay the barbell across your hips, essentially, the entire barbell, if you're able to do that. If that's too challenging, you can kick the barbell off to the side and just have a portion of the barbell resting on the hip of the side that's working. If the single leg version of this is too challenging, you could always just do a double leg glute bridge as well. That first variation where the bar is resting across your hips, so you'll place the bar, place it right in the crease of the hip there. You're going to start with both feet on the ground, laying flat on your back, and you'll straighten one leg. Just use your hands to balance the bar and keep it in place. Straighten one leg out in front, and then the glute bridge, you're going to drive the heel into the floor, extend that hip up nice and high, keep the belly squeezed nice and tight, and lower back under control. You'll do 8 to 12 on one side, and then 8 to 12 on the other. Again, if that's too challenging, you can only put a portion of the barbell on the body by kicking it off to the side, rest the collar on the hip, and it would still be that same movement, single leg, extend all the way up. If both of those are too demanding, you could obviously do it with no weight, kind of eliminating the one barbell component of it. I guess just keep it handy by your side as your friend, or just do a double leg version, both feet on the ground. That's our second pair, the floor press and the glute bridge. Then the bicep curl and the Russian twist. So the bicep curl is also 1 1/4, kind of the theme of the workout. 3 1 1/4 movements to start each little pairing. The bicep curl is an underhand grip. Hands are just outside your thighs. You're going to curl the bar all the way in. Keep the elbows close to the side of the body. And then on the way down, you're going to lower 1/4 of the way, squeeze back up to the top, and lower back down under control. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it would be to perform the full repetition. Lower back down to the start, and the 1/4 would take place at the bottom. That's probably going to be the easier of the two, but if doing the 1/4 at the top is a little too demanding for you, you could perform the 1/4 at the bottom, or just do regular bicep curls would be fine as well. And again, you can pause at the 1/4 if the weight you have is relatively light for you. Those will get nice and spicy, even if you're dealing with an empty barbell. And 8 to 12 reps is the goal. Kneeling Russian twist. So this would be kind of like a landmine type of setup. So one side of the bar is just on the floor, up against the corner, just kind of supported. You're only going to be grabbing one side of the bar. It's double kneeling. Squeeze the hips forward. Stay nice and tall. The barbell starts right out in front of your face, essentially, just a little bit higher than head height or forehead height. You're going to lower under control. Try to avoid rotating the trunk excessively. So try to resist that rotation as you lower the bar down towards your hip. Come back around to the front, and then repeat on the opposite side. Again, avoiding that rotation. And again, the slower you go, especially on the way down, that's really kind of the meat and potatoes of the workout. Lifting it back up should be relatively easy. That's it, guys. It's 4 to 5 sets of each pair. Obviously, if each set is killing you, and based on the weight you have, you can knock out 3 sets. That should be fine. Reach out with any questions and enjoy.